Hello and welcome to Pursuit365 show on spirituality. I'm your host, Rani Sanghera, 500-hour yoga instructor, holistic healer, and psychedelic guide and coach. Today, I'm excited to have our next guest, Dr. Julia Avidane. I hope I said that correctly. She's a doctor of physiotherapy and has a background in yoga as well. Thank you so much for being here, Julia.
Great. I'm so happy to be here.
Why don't we begin by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
I am a physical therapist, as you say in Canada, physiotherapist, and I have a doctorate from the University of Miami and a bachelor's of health science from the University of Miami down in South Florida, where I'm at. I have a background, an upbringing in ballet dancing, and that shaped my understanding of the body, a lot about control, coordination, agility as one has as a dancer. And that inspired my work to want to study anatomy deeper, to want to also use that knowledge to heal injuries as well. And alongside with my dancing, I started taking yoga, and that complemented the the harshness, I would say, of ballet, and it helped me just soften my mindset around what body holistic healing is, because I really do gravitate towards yoga. I went into teacher training as early as about 18 years old. I started with my formal teacher training, and I was teaching all throughout my 20s and now 30s. So I've really been doing a lot of yoga in my own practice and teaching as well.
Mm-hmm. You still teach?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes. I
Yes.
often find that a lot of dancers go into becoming yoga teachers. I feel like it's one of those natural transitions that happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And we both share the same 500-hour certification, which is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
accomplish.
goes really deep into, depending on what sort of lineage that you train in, it really goes into anatomy as well. So another great way to learn about that. So with your background, what is the work you're passionate about and has had impacted people the most?
Yes. I have a special interest in alignment, and it's such a foundational understanding of how to stand up and sit up and engage your core muscles that I shifted from being excited about doing advanced poses and stretching into back bends and all sorts of advanced poses. And then I just scaled it really far back to just a basic understanding of how I should be even just sitting up straight. And even in positions such as sleeping, like instead of rounding forward and curling forward like we always are in our daily modern life with computer use, phone use. I see the young generations are really slouching forward, that I can help people to just understand these basic alignment and will prevent a lot of issues with your spine down the line. Mm-hmm. Not only that, the posture that I'm interested in posture work, basically.
Yeah.
And that is not only just physical, but it does affect your mood, your mind, your confidence, how you're portrayed talking in a conversation even.
You just said something about children on phones, and sometimes one of the things that I often see is they might not be slouched over, but their neck is going straight down like this.
Yes.
You notice that?
Yes.
And what sort of issues would that bring up in the future?
Yes. Well, the weight of the head with the neck down in that position will put a lot of stress on your cervical spine, your neck, and then translate down to the upper back, also known as the thoracic spine. That is going to cause weakening of the muscles in the neck. And so it's going to be forming a habit and then just perpetually weakening the muscles and being harder to use the proper retraction of the shoulder blades down and back, and really causing headaches, neck pain, and weakness of your shoulders when the shoulders are forward, and that becomes your natural position. And I know this from my own personal struggles because I have always defaulted to a slouching position. But when the shoulders are forward, it puts you at risk for shoulder injuries.
Yeah, I worked in a pharmacy for 20 years and checking prescriptions. And so, I caught myself over the last few years that I actually will just do this. Like it's like a natural thing for me to just put my head down is not good for me. So the last few years I've really been practicing
Yes.
actually lifting my head, keeping my head sort of the chin up, and it's helped me greatly.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I've done in my career is been an ergonomic consultant for workspaces. So I went into laboratories and assessed how I could help workers be in a better alignment. So when they're working, are there computer screens eye level? The top of your computer screen should be at eye level, and then keyboard down where your elbows are more at 90-degree angle, including sitting, but also in a standing position. And there's benefits of standing and working, obviously, but to have the workspace so you're not reaching too much overhead, not repetitive overreaching, but also, helping to keep things at eye level. So the pharmacy would benefit a pharmacist, from
Yeah.
doing things more at eye level, not all constantly looking down too.
Yeah, that's definitely shifted where I worked before. The computers were kept down on the table, and so you were always looking down and
Yes.
typing. That has since changed. There's been renos done, and they're nicer, they're higher up, and so you've got your head
Yeah, I've
up
brought
and
in my
down.
own personal standing desk, rolling desk, standing like a podium.
Yeah.
And I've brought that into my own workspaces so I can stand and type, and it has a tilt, and I can, since I'm passionate about this, it's important for me to be comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let's talk about your yoga practice, your personal yoga practice. How has that evolved over the years? What does that
Yes.
look like?
Well, I've shifted, as I said, from trying to do the extreme flexibility exercises, which are exciting, but um, I'm now more passionate about just getting down on my mat. And my favorite thing to do in the morning is to get on my hands and knees. And I start with just simple movements of my lumbar and my upper back into cat and cow, for example, and
Right.
stretching. And I really just focus. I want to recommend for people, if they want to do something on their own, say they're not going to make it to a formal yoga class and don't have that guided instruction, and you just want to get down on the mat and don't know what to do, my favorite thing is to just get on my hands and knees to stretch and move my spine, go into child's pose,
Yeah.
stretch the into upward dog, really like do that extension motion, which is excellent for lumbar spine health, the low back health, to reverse that forward posture. So doing extension exercises on your stomach.
Yeah.
And then also, I love to stretch the back of my legs. The hamstrings that are naturally tight because they are a structure that needs to be tight to help us stand and walk. Also, will impede your nerves if they're too tight, especially in your buttocks. So to stretch the back of your legs is very important. And I lay down on my back, stretch my leg up, and do some flexing and pointing of my foot to help with the sciatic nerve, which is called the nerve flossing technique. And if it's just that, if I just do that and maybe a little twisting on my back, I feel good, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it kind of ignites the body a little bit, wakes it up in the morning. And
What
like
do you
you,
do in the morning?
very similar actually. I just do a very low and slow flow in the morning. Just it's sometimes it's different. It depends on what's tight. But yeah, I keep it simple. I've also changed how I do yoga. I used to do the hot yoga, the vigorous yoga, trying to get in all the poses. And what I found for me now is that there is so much more movement in the slow yoga postures and holding the yoga postures. And I'm drawn to more quiet practices. I don't know.
Yes.
That's just the way that I'm evolving myself, I think. Going more
Yes.
inward during the
Yes.
practice rather than trying to see what I look like in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to mention the meditative exercises and calming down the mind. I
Hmm.
listen to I I like to put on just ambient music that is not too much of a beat. It's more just a flowing, so you get to really just detach and go inward and saying some mantras perhaps. So
Hmm.
um and and also walking meditation is one of my daily practices.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I say I'm walking, I'm moving, and I saw something that really resonated. Why walking is so therapeutic? It's because that forward motion, and I really connected with that. Like that you're moving your body forward,
Mm.
and how that you can really go deep into your thoughts in that motion. That's just a constant pace of going and going. So I walk about an hour a day.
Oh, that's amazing.
Do
Yeah, I
you
try.
do
Yeah,
that?
I try and get. I walk my son to school every day, there and back. So that's 30 minutes,
Uh-huh.
uh, both times. And I live right across the street from a forest. So if I need a break in the middle of the day, I'm in there walking. So yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your yoga training. Can you tell me where you took your training and sort of what challenges you might have come up against?
Uh-huh. I started off in Miami Beach in a 200-hour basic yoga training, and that really gave me a foundation of practice. And Ayurveda we studied also. Um, Power yoga, it was power style, but just a vinyasa flow. Then I lived out in Los Angeles for a while, and I started to take more training there. Another 200-hour, and then I went into a 300-hour, which would give me 500 hours. So I I really felt that, so it gave me a lot of knowledge, but I also struggled with thinking or being told what necessarily is like right to do and right to teach. And I understand that they have, yoga training is there to guide you to be a yoga teacher. But I
Mhm.
really, it kind of got jumbled in my mind where, although I had practiced and done all this body work and knew a lot already, it kind of jumbled my brain where I didn't know what was right because I had like conflicting information, and I actually lost a lot of my confidence teaching from from going to an advanced yoga training class. And that's it's actually taken me a while to undo feeling like not confident about it,
Mm.
because maybe it's not anyone's, any training's fault, but to 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 know like what, I would like to just be authentic in what I would like to teach. And so it's not necessarily going to be exactly a script like written, okay, now we're going to do this
Mhm.
and now we're going to do this. Maybe
Right.
maybe you want to maybe you want to do go off script. And once you know the foundation, then you do what you think is right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like when you talk about alignment because you said you were focused on alignment, and some some lineages teach you that it has to look a certain way. But I don't know what you believe, but I believe that all of our bodies are very different. And what alignment looks like in my body is going to look very different in your body, depending on
Yes.
where you're tight, if you have injuries, your age. And it's about helping your client find the right alignment for them, not to look like me at the front,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. I have one detail that comes to mind is about like squaring my hips off in um warrior one, like just like a lunging pose, and there's a lot of alignment cues that use, like, okay, square your hips off, and that for me doesn't feel good. Now that, and there's a difference between, like, maybe it doesn't feel good as a stretch, or maybe it just really doesn't feel good. And
Mhm.
I work with that, and when I'm, with my own self, I'm getting that feedback from my body, but I also, when I'm working with other people, look at what they look like, and if they don't have space and openness in, say, their hips or something, it could be taking up compensating in a different area,
Mm.
maybe in your knee,
Yeah.
or maybe it's, not go it's it could go up the back as well. So really, you're right, individual, and it's not gonna be a one size fits all.
No, no, it's not.
And like, and
I
just
think
even go ahead.
that's a huge one. I think that people have that misconception that they're going to go to a yoga class and that oh, I don't go to yoga because I'm not flexible. Well, that's why you should go to yoga. And B, I can't get into those poses. I'm never going to look like that. Well, you're not supposed to look like that. You're supposed to look how your body is supposed to look.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm in when I'm taking a yoga class, I really am of that philosophy where I'm doing what's best for me. And sometimes I'm not doing exactly what the teacher is calling out in that very moment. Maybe I'm,
Mm.
taking an extra breath or two. I'm not going at the pace that they are. And so I want to encourage others that,
Yes.
feel that independence also. You don't have to do every movement that a yoga teacher is calling out.
Yeah. A common phrase that I will use after we've done something is you can go into child's pose or move into any complementary movement that you're being guided to by your body.
Nice.
Yeah. And so when the people are given that permission, then you see this movement, and it almost
Yes.
always is the same thing everyone's going through because it's an energetic sort of movement. I feel, for example, if you've been in a back bend and I say, okay, go into any movement, everyone's going to, move forward because it's just a natural movement to create balance in the body.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
One thing I love is to give people a freestyle, like moment, and a couple minutes, even just at the
Mm,
beginning of the class,
yeah.
to just do what you want right now. Just move in the whatever way you want. And a lot of people will lie on their backs and do something, but it's fun for me to give people, like, oh, what, I can just do something that I want to do. I don't know what to do, and then see what they gravitate towards. And because I know myself that would be fun for me to go into a class and the teacher be like, all right, freestyle time.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you blend in spirituality into your personal practice and when you teach.
um well, I really have studied a lot of books on detachment, finding peace. I focus a lot about on the sensation in the front of my forehead. Um, I'll use, like I said, the walking meditations. I even use nature, just the simple moments, like staring at a moving tree branch and getting back into that present moment to help my brain uh, with, like, flexing the muscle of being completely present in the moment. even a candle meditation, lighting a candle,
Mm-hmm.
staring at a flame.
Mm-hmm.
So I work on that muscle of the brain daily. Journaling is also a meditative practice, and deep work, like if you're passionate about something, whatever that craft is, when you are completely absorbed in that task, like painting, or someone maybe that likes crafts like woodworking. For me, I like to write, so that is a meditation, and that is
Mm-hmm.
a, in itself I believe a spiritual practice, that you're just flowing.
Yeah, I think there's that misconception that if you're in a meditative practice, you need to be, sitting still, eyes closed, trying to clear your mind. But meditation can happen through movement as well. When you're so engrossed in that and that's all you're focused on, you know?
Yes. And your brain does switch the into a different wave state, and you'll notice that so the time just goes away. You could
Yeah.
be looking at 2-3 hours go by and not even notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, how do you incorporate your spiritual practices into your classes?
Reminding people to go inward into their body, feeling that intuitive knowing, working on their combining the breath with the movement, which is building the mind body awareness.
Yeah. And who are some of your sort of spiritual gurus? Who do you get inspiration from?
Uh-huh. Well, when I was talking specifically about the present moment, I think of Eckhart Tolle for one. He has some great clips out recently about him just stirring his tea, and how he takes the jar off of the honey and he puts it back, and that in that moment he takes that pause and just is doing whatever it is, even walking from one room to the next. He's observing himself.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I I'm I think of him. That's the power of now. He wrote A New Earth as well.
Yeah.
Um, I, I love to study neuroscience, to really have a deeper understanding of brain science, and that translates to just understanding why we do what we do. I love learning about motivation,
Mm.
habits, forming habits, breaking habits.
Yeah.
I've read a lot about that. Yeah, and Dr. K, he's a psychiatrist from Harvard. I've listened to him a bunch lately, and he has some really interesting information that he's combined from a background in Indian holistic medicine, and he has a Harvard degree on psychiatry.
Mm. Dr. K.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yes.
Have to look him up. So let's talk about yoga. Is often used for stress relief, and improve mental health. So, what are some of the practices that you would incorporate or suggest to people who are looking for that relief?
Well, just getting down, feeling, even if you don't feel like doing a very energetic practice, like we said, just getting down on the yoga mat and um, seeing what you want to do within your body. Um, and then you'll find, maybe once you give yourself a few minutes, you'll want to do a little bit something more strenuous, and pick up some weights. By the way, resistance training is so good for your body. I don't count that out at all. Weights for bone health, to improve your bone density.
Balance.
um, yes. Oh, okay. So yeah, doing anything standing on one leg is excellent. um, And yeah, I recommend people get some bands, resistance bands as well. So you could work on. You can always tie it around your legs, your thighs, or your lower ankles, and do some kicks. And that's going to build out your hip strength. Or lay on your side, do some kicks out to the side. You pull it apart with to retract your shoulders and really work on the upper back muscles, like we were talking about. So yeah, body weight stuff is excellent, but I definitely promote the resistance training. I saw there's a farmer's lift where you're holding weights next to your sides and just walking for a minute, and they recommend at least half of your body weight total. So, and then having that half of your body weight and then half of that in each hand to walk around for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. So let's move to you're also a physiotherapist,
Yes.
and so how do you incorporate these Western philosophies of physiotherapy and Eastern philosophies of yoga into your offerings and your private clients?
Yeah. So Western, we got reps and sets and targeting a certain area that looks weak, and analyzing, looking at something and maybe isolating it as a joint. But I believe that I'm combining that, yes, with a more holistic approach that I would view as Eastern medicine. And like we've been going over, really listening and looking at the whole body. If something is weak, or say you have pain, for example, in your shoulder, that yes is there, but it could be coming from somewhere else, and you do have to look above and below the region that you're having a problem. So combining that plus intelligence, body intelligence, and that's something I think that we're able to build and just constantly get to know ourselves.
Can you explain body intelligence to our listeners?
Yes. Well, there is a theory of knowledge, and this was really interesting for me to learn about, that there's a psychologist in his 1983 work named Howard Gardner. He categorizes intelligence into different kinds. The theory of multiple intelligence. Other than body kinesthetic, meaning, so we have that is the ability to use one's body skillfully and handle objects with precision, like athletes, dancers, surgeons, craftspeople use this kind of intelligence. Then there's linguistic intelligence, the ability to use language effectively, whether written or spoken, like writers, poets, orators. Mathematical intelligence, ability to think logically and solve problems, mathematical problems, like scientists, mathematicians. Spatial intelligence, ability to visualize and manipulate objects in space, like architects and artists. Musical intelligence, ability to understand and create music. They're sensitive to rhythm, pitch, melody, tone. Then there's interpersonal intelligence, ability to understand and interact effectively, like teachers and therapists. Intrapersonal intelligence is the ability to understand oneself, like philosophers, psychologists. And then naturalistic intelligence, to recognize and categorize plants, animals, and interest in other natural phenomena, like biologists, environmentalists, and those attuned to nature. And this highlights how we all have a different, diverse amount of strengths and proclivities. And for me, when I read this, I understood clearly that one of my natural strengths is the body kinesthetic intelligence. And that's exactly what we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what's next for you? What are you working on?
Yes.
Do you have any online offerings for people? Where are you
Yes.
based out of even?
I'm down in South Florida. We're all the way diagonal, right? You're in BC, right?
I am, yeah.
All right. I've been up in Pemberton before. I have a full masterclass on my posture education, which I'm so passionate about. I have a full manual, a PDF manual of exercises that I've put together that are thorough to show you everything that I recommend for strengthening and alignment of the spine, which is what I'm passionate about. So you can check that out at healthyback.info. And you can find me at The Neck Lady on Instagram, talking about all my favorite spine and back health knowledge. Then I'm just going to be educating people and launching. I'm writing a book right now on the healthy spine. That's what I'm doing right now,
Right
and
on.
also launching a health podcast soon.
Wonderful. Well, anything else you want to add?
Um, that's it. I just want
That's
everyone
it.
to stop slouching, sit up straight,
Like,
and feel good and take care of yourself. I'm so happy to be here with you and connect. I hope that we get to talk some more.
yeah, that would be wonderful. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. And all of your social media platforms and your website will be in your bio. So if anyone
Okay.
wants to get in touch with Dr. Julia Avidane, that we will have all that information in the bio for you. So it's been great having you, Julia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can't wait to do this with you again.
Yes.
And to our viewers, we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.